For it's the end of history. It's caged and frozen still. There is no other pill to take. So swallow the one that makes you ill, said legendary rockers, Rage Against the Machine, sleep now in the fire. I'm back, people, indie escapers. Thank you. Sorry about the delay. I'm Brandon E. Brooks. This is Industry Outlaws United, IOU for short. In the box next to me is the man with the Indie Escape plan, Joe Ridgely. How are you, Joe? I've missed you, my friend.
Dude, exactly. I'm glad to be back on another Friday night. It's been 3 weeks. What the hell? What have you been doing?
Oh my gosh. Yes. 3 weeks, actually a month since I've seen your face and I've been able to do this. I've been missing it. It's been a very eventful 3 weeks. I produced a film. I helped produce a film in South Florida. Shout out to Lou Simone and the amazing film technology and film crew there at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. It's an amazing cast of young up-and-comers, Diane Garley, Christopher Milans, two Hollywood pros, William Forsythe, Michael Pare, all four of which will be on a future IOU show, but most definitely. When I got back to some great subsoil news from my business partner, Tim Melican. We're in serious talks to get quite a few horror projects off the ground this summer. So I'm very stoked about that. But I mean, that was a week full of making budgets and rewrites and polishes for different scripts. And the last 3 days, I came down with some crazy sickness of some sort that for whatever reason, this morning when I woke up, just kind of subsided enough for me to be able to be sitting in front of you, because the last 3 days I was just on my behind, like coughing up a lung. But so I'm happy to be here.
So are you saying enough? You were ill?
I will let you say that kind of terrible pun, Joe. But yes, I'm happy to be here. Yes, Tim, Libby, Ken, Sean, thank you for waiting and joining us. I appreciate you all. Yeah, I have enough voice to be here. We have an amazing guest. We had some tech difficulties, but hopefully we will see that through. And how have you been, Joe? How have you and the indie family been since I've been on here?
Absolutely spectacular. Things are rocking and rolling, man. Awesome things happening ahead. Tomorrow night, speaking of Sean Smithson, he's going to be on there with Scott and Thomas tomorrow night. They're going to talk to Sean, and they're going to talk to the prop, drawing a blank right now, the prop guy from Scott's last show. Damn, I'm a horrible person for not remembering that right now. But anyway, tune in tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's bound to be a good time.
Awesome. So without further ado, can we please play the video for tonight's outstanding guest?
Absolutely.
Awesome. pretty badass.
What an amazing woman. Absolutely amazing.
Welcome to IOU, actress Arthur, and one of the most badass and coolest individuals I met in the business, Elise.
Yay, I'm so fucking sorry. I'm so fucking
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. I've got my 2014 laptop I'm using instead of my one that I just bought last month, which is a piece of shit apparently. My phone wouldn't work either. It's a nightmare. I've got like a world of like technology here to try to make this whole shit go down. I am sorry.
Hey, you are here, and we knew you were going to be here, and we're happy to have you, Chris. So, yes. So take a deep breath, and we're going to get this thing started. How are you? First off, it's great to see you again. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So yes, so a little backstory. Christine and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last year on the horror convention circuit. Shout out to the amazing booking agent Chris Majors for helping facilitate and always putting together good times at these events where we can all get to know each other. And Christine, again, I've been a huge admirer of her since the beginning of her career. I think the first time I saw her was on an episode of Jump Street, which was one of my favorite shows growing up. But yeah, we will get into that. First, what I always do with my guests, Christine, is I ask them to tell them a little bit about where your upbringing, where you were born and raised, and was your upbringing middle class, low class? Like, tell us a little bit about where you come from.
I'm from Boston. I come from working class stock. My parents grew up in the projects in Boston, and I grew up on welfare and was a recipient of a public education and free school lunches and the sort of things that they want to get rid of these days as entitlements. But I am where I am today because those things existed in the 70s. And yeah, my dad was a roofer. My mom worked like behind the deli, cutting deli meat. And yeah, so then my parents got divorced. It's a long story that I won't get into, but then she remarried a guy like 2 years later when I was 14, who was a musician. And I was 14 and he was like 27 or something. And my mom was like 32. And we all got sort of into the punk rock scene in Boston together in the 70s. And my parents took me, I'm an only child, by the way. My parents took me to punk rock shows all around town in nightclubs and stuff. I got a really great fake ID and I got to see incredible bands like Bauhaus and stuff in a club as big as my kitchen. I left Boston when I was 19.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So was little Christine always an extrovert, like destined for showbiz, or where were you when you were little? Were you enamored with films or acting?
I'm still not an extrovert. Have you met me?
I mean, but you're so personable with your fans and for everybody. I mean, were you that little girl that was watching cinema or television that dreamed of being on it, or did it come to you later in life?
I was always a fan of television. I think most Americans are. And when you're poor, television's all there is. And in high school and stuff, in high school, I collected Pulp Fiction, old 50s, 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s Pulp Fiction, detective novel kind of stuff. I was a big fan of classic Hollywood movies, but was way too shy. Very, very punk rock and looked very confrontational. As some of those photos you showed in the slideshow indicate, that picture with the black lips and the red eyes. That's my mom behind me. I was 15 in that photo. I look super confrontational, but that's sort of part of the act. So you look that way and no one fucks at you. I still have a bit of that well-learned bravado that served me well then and continues to. As far as I'm actually an introvert and I'm really shy. So, but pretending you're not gets you a long way. So I wanted to be an architect or something, or I don't know what, something sort of creative, but nothing performance related until I saw Blade Runner. And Blade Runner was, in my estimation, sort of a reinvention of film noir and modernizing it a great deal. And I thought, that's my daughter Hayden.
Hey!
And I thought, hey, I'll be a director. So I went to Boston University for a year in the film department, in the film school. And then I had problems with BU for reasons that are not interesting. But they're only interesting that what I wanted to do was pursue a bit of instead of having a bunch of science courses that I didn't like, I wanted to continue computer programming, which I fell into and loved, and they wouldn't let me continue, which this is 1983, by the way. So wow. I mean, I might be a very different person right now had BU allowed me to pursue computer programming when I wanted to, as an adjunct to my film thing, they wouldn't though. And so I was like, oh, well, fuck this town and fuck this school. And I'm going to move. Why finish film school in a town that doesn't have a film industry? So I thought I would move to Los Angeles, establish California residency, and then go to USC or UCLA, which at the time were like $600 a semester. And I think BU was like 12 or 16,000 a semester in 1983. And I thought I'll go to film school here. I'll have a year to like learn my way around and suss shit out. And then I'll go to film school and I'll be, a giant. And I got a job for $6 an hour as a cashier on Rodeo Drive. And, didn't drive, by the way. I didn't drive a car. I took the bus everywhere for 2.5 years in Los Angeles. That's a meaningful thing to say because it's a car town. And 2.5 years, like 2 years in, I was still a cashier on Rodeo Drive. And I was like, retail can't be my future. What am I going to do? So I took some film classes at LACC, which is a city college here, but like after work and like at this rate, 16 years from now, I'll have a degree from a school that no one gives a fuck about. So that's such a slow track. I can't do that. And what else can I do at night that can advance my purpose? So I thought I'll take an acting class. If I'm going to be a director, I should know and direct actors. I should be able to speak to actors in a language or even know what their job is, Yeah. So I took an acting class, and while it was terrifying, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. And I thought, hey, lots of people that can't act make a living. Why can't I be one of them? And I looked 15. I was 21, 22 at the time. And I was like, fuck it. I'll just like try to be an actor. And that's the best film school you could find is to be on set. And then I did pretty well pretty quickly. And when I saw what a director's job actually was, I was totally intimidated and realized that being an actor was the easiest job on set. So I decided to stay there.
All righty. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. That's an intro that I wasn't familiar with. CJ Robles, one of our hosts for another one of the Indie Escape shows on Monday night, my Manic Mondayz, says, I'm a social introvert. I can be around people, but prefer to be alone. Okay. Sean Smithson. Hello, Christine. Love your Scully cap, by the way.
Scally cap. That's a
Scally cap. Scally cap. I said it wrong. Scally cap.
Boston. Sorry, it's an Irish. It's a newsboy. Yeah. If it was puffier, it would be a newsboy. But yeah, it's a Scally. In Boston, they call them Scally caps.
Awesome. Yes. All right. So you decided to move from directing to acting. What was your first job that you landed? Like of everything. Like, was it a commercial? Was it an extra small part? What was your first gig?
I got a pretty decent part in a movie of the week. It was called The Town Bully. It was based on a true story, and I just watched the documentary of this story in the last couple of years. It's a true story of a town somewhere like in Arizona, New Mexico or something, where there was a town bully, a guy that was just like, just causing hell in this town on a significant level. And the town just got fed up and they killed him. And in real life, they like hid his body in like the cement of a bridge or something. And they never found his body, and the town got away with killing this guy. Because it was a television in 1988 or whatever it was. They had to have the town get caught, and like Bruce Boxleitner came in and saved the day and solved the crime. But I was a teenage girl that this town bully guy was dating, and she was like,
"Oh, okay."
It was David Graff. The town bully was David Graff. I think he's in Police Academy.
Oh yeah.
Dingleberry or
yeah. Yes. Tackleberry. Was it Tackleberry?
Yes.
Yes.
So he was my first on-screen kiss too.
Oh wow! Now was that nerve-wracking for you? How was that experience?
It was horrible. It's horrible. One, he's a giant man, and while I was actually a woman, like 23 or whatever I was, 23, it was my first job, and yeah, I don't need some fucking old dude still slipping me the tongue. So I have a rule about that.
So this is a question I've probed a couple times with different guests. Like, did you ever get anxieties being an introvert, like you said? Do you have anxiety when you're set to perform, whether on television or in film?
On set, I have a little. I think a normal amount, nothing excessive. I think you mostly do, and the stakes are pretty high. You've got a lot of people looking at you, and most of the stuff that I do is very expensive. I've done a lot of network television and stuff. It's actually even, I shouldn't even say that, because I've done a lot of $100 a day independent films too. And when the budget's small, the pressure is still high. So, I have a little bit of recognition that everybody wants to go home, and when you don't want to fuck up.
So what do you do? What do you do? Do you Zen? Do you go to a specific place? Or do you go back to training?
No, I think in the case of being on set, it's just like a healthy amount of nervousness that's natural. And I think everybody has it. The real nerves come in for me for auditioning. I'm incredibly terrified auditioner.
Same here.
I've doubled over cramping diarrhea level terror. Like, it's fucking terror for me. And I can sit in the lobby waiting to go in and think, like, I can't believe I chose this for a job. I can't believe I chose to have this be a recurring event in my life where I have to sit in a room terrified, and I could just leave. And the only person in the world that it would hurt is myself. Like, and yet I don't. Auditioning is worse than a root canal. It's so fucking terrifying for me. So
I concur. I went to the same thing in my years of acting. It was always excruciating. When I got in the room and did it, I think I seemed to be fine, but the lead up to it was just excruciating. But you did manage to land a lot of TV and stuff early in your career, stuff like 21 Jump Street, Head of the Class, a lot of huge shows at the time. Like, what were those experiences like? Not just the auditioning process, were they arduous? And once you were on the set with some of these shows that had already been on, were they enjoyable experiences for you?
All work is enjoyable. When you're an actor, all work is enjoyable because it's a fucking miracle that you got it.
Absolutely.
Always grateful. Every set isn't as friendly as the next, and every actor isn't as friendly as the next. I've only had a handful of bad experiences. I'm not going to name them, but one in particular. I've been a professional guest star for most of my career, which means you walk into a set where everybody's long-standing. It's like being a new kid in school. Yeah. Over and over and over. So the reward for powering through that terrifying audition is to walk onto a set and be the new kid at school and be terrified all over again. Just because you don't know who the crazy people are, you don't know where the fucking craft service is, and and they have a really well formed community there, and you're just in there for a day and they don't care about you, and so you just get really good at pretending you're okay. Which is what I do most of my life, is pretending that I'm okay. I mean, that's what I know. Having taken a bunch of acting classes where they tape you, and then the whole class gets to get taped, and we all watch it together, and everyone critique each other. And I've learned from these experiences that even that I know how terrified I was, and they'll go, "So Christine, how do you got scene for you?" Like, I don't know. It was a total blackout because I was so fucking terrified the whole time. I don't even know what I did. And they're like, I don't believe you. You weren't nervous. You weren't. And I was, though. I was genuinely terrified because acting classes are scarier than auditioning for some reason. And but I watched the playback myself, and I know what to look for. I know how nervous I was, and I know what to look for to see my own nerves, and I don't see them. So I've learned to pretend really, really well. And I've learned to pretend that I'm comfortable in most situations when I'm not. So I'm an actor every day of my life. Like, I don't need to rehearse. I'm doing all kinds of acting every day. So yeah, some sets are friendlier than others, and they're very different experiences, as you must know. 21 Jump Street was interesting because when I got there, Johnny Depp was already disgruntled and wanted to go on to his movie career, which didn't have any inkling that it would be what it has become. He just seemed to be one of those pretty boys that thought, I'm too good for TV. I'm supposed to be a movie star, which everyone thinks, right? I thought it about myself. And so I was like, yeah, good luck with that. But when I got there, they were like, Johnny might not come out of his trailer. So you might have to do all your work to tape on the C-stand, and he may not even show up on set for you. He did, though. He did show up, and I learned a lot watching him, actually. A lot of really talented people. Everyone starts somewhere, right? And so just because you're starting on Matlock or Father Dowling Mysteries or some other, Saved by the Bell, sort of corny television doesn't mean you're not a talented actor. It just means that's the job you got and you had rent to pay. And I learned a lot from Johnny Depp, and I did that job. I was doing a play downtown at the time with not with Jennifer Tilly, but at the same time as Jennifer Tilly was doing a play in the same theater. And we shared a dressing room, and I got a lot of work that in that little period of time, I think, because I had a job, and having a job is really an empowering thing. And so I got 21 Jump Street, and I got an episode of Baywatch. The day I got home from Jump Street, they go, leave from the airport, go to this audition for Baywatch, and I got a job on Baywatch. And while I was shooting Baywatch, they called me back for a callback on Child's Play 2, and I got the job while I was on the set of Baywatch.
Oh wow!
I met Jennifer Tilly before I had even done a Chucky, but I got Chucky in that era.
Gotcha. Okay. So. Wow. That was my next question about how the process for the role of Kyle came to you. Did you have to direct? Did you have to go through a arduous process with John Lafia, the director, or to get that role, or was it a quick process to get that role?
Things were very different. There was no internet. There was nothing back then. And this is the golden era of auditioning, which means that anyone that wanted to have a decision, have an opinion about whether you should be cast or not, had to actually physically be in the room and watch you read. Otherwise, they were just talking out their ass. So the rooms would have, 2 or 3 people, sometimes maybe as much as 7 or 8, but typically no, very small amount of people in a room. And I read for it. I didn't get it. And then I went on to my Johnny Depp job and my Baywatch job. And they're like, oh, we didn't find the girl, but let's bring back the people that were near misses. And I went back, but I was at work on Baywatch at the time. So I went in they went in, I actually have the production schedule. I saved it. And it shows that there was a second casting for Kyle at 9:30 in the morning, which is way early for casting, which means they called an early casting session to accommodate my set call for Baywatch.
Oh wow! And
I went in there with attitude, let's get this show on the road. I got somewhere to be. And I'm convinced that attitude is what got me that job. I think I went in second time with fuck all y'all. I have somewhere, and they're like, that's her.
Yes, not knowing that you really were wow. That's awesome. So was it difficult working opposite a doll as opposed to a human killer that's trying to kill you in this process? Did it make for longer days and more of a crazy schedule filming Child's Play 2?
Okay. Hold that question, Pegs. I'm going to answer it one way. I have a second answer for it too. So I might lose my train of thought in the middle of it. It's no more difficult to work with a doll than it is to work with a person. In fact, it's easier because there's no personality conflict. The doll's just a doll, and it's all pretend. So acting with you in a scene and acting with a doll in a scene, it's all the same. We're just pretending. It did make for longer days, and that the doll was way more complicated to get to work back then than he is now. Yeah. And with a 7-year-old, so what would happen was, there's a scene with me and Alex and the doll in it. They'd shoot Alex out first because he was a minor. I had to leave after a 6-hour day. And then the doll had 9 SAG actor puppeteers that they're SAG actors puppeteers are, which is an odd thing, but true. And there were 9 of them. So they were more expensive to have on set than I was. So they would shoot Alex out and then they would shoot Chucky out. And I would do all of my stuff with nobody else there.
Yeah.
With tape on a C-stand, So, and yeah, I made for some long days. And I sort of bore the brunt of it because I was the last man standing most of the time. So I learned to physically stand as close to Alex as I possibly could, all the time, physically touching him. So if they let him go, they couldn't shoot me because he would need to be in frame with me. In an effort to try to keep myself from let him go, and I had to stay.
Oh wow. We have a question from Sean Smithson. Do you ever have nightmares working with a doll while filming?
That's the question Alex Vincent gets asked most of all in all of time. Do you have nightmares? No. In fact, I think Chucky's only ever been in a dream once in my entire life, and it may have been recently. But when you're on set, it's also fake. I mean, you've seen the picture I have on my table at conventions of me leaning in for the kiss with Chucky. That's because in that really famous Child's Play 2 scene where I'm in the car with Chucky driving to try to find Andy, and the whole "You've Seen Dolls That Pee" sequence. And in between takes, the puppeteers can make Chucky do anything. They're having him bat his eyelashes. They're having him caress my thigh. So I leaned in for a kiss, and they got that really great shot, which I still sell because I think it's really an awesome shot. But now I recreate that shot every time I get a chance. I have a Cult of Chucky reenactment of that, and I have a season 1 of Chucky reenactment. Hopefully, it'll be season 2 reenactment. Hopefully, hopefully. But where was I? Where am in my thought process here?
Nightmares, creepy.
Nightmares. No. So in fact, my nightmare is that Chucky goes away. Chucky's been a really good friend to me since 1989. So the scariest thing for me is that Chucky kills Kyle. If Chucky kills Kyle, my whole life is going to be so sad.
Especially on the new show when people are dropping like flies. So
and Kyle may be one of them. We don't know. Kyle may have been dropped.
We hope not. But so we'll get back to Chucky in a little bit. A film adaptation that I've always dug from the 90s that you were a big part of was Body Snatchers. Can you speak a little bit about that? That was an amazing cast. There you are in one of the pivotal end scenes. That cast of, at the moment, I don't even think everybody was as established. I mean, Forrest Whitaker, Meg Tilly, Billy Worth, who I was an admirer of from the Lost Boys, Gabrielle Anwar. Just can you speak a little bit about that film? Any funny moments, any memories that stick out from that film?
Every one of those people was established at the time. I think I was the least established of them all.
Okay. I'm just going back to '93. Yes, I'm not.
Forrest Whitaker established. Arlie Ermey, who's gone now.
Yes.
Established from Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
We shot that in Selma, Alabama, where the Edmund Pettus Bridge exists. I spent 2 or 3 months actually in Selma, Alabama. And I wish that I had been. This is not career related. I of course was aware of Martin Luther King and the marches, and I didn't. And there was, while I was there was a celebration at the bridge, a civil rights, festival at the foot of the bridge. And that town is so crazy because there's 2 nice restaurants. One's called the Tally Ho, and another one that's literally has slave sellers and the gates sellers and stuff on the wall. There's this decoration that's a historical slave trade stuff, and I forget the name of that restaurant, but a heavy town with a lot of dark history and super racist and super segregated while I was there. There were 2 bars that you could go to. One was called the Top Gun, that was the white people bar, and the other one was called Dr. Disco's Chicken Shack, and that was the black bar. Which bar do you want to go to? I don't want to go to fucking Top Gun. I want to go to Dr. Disco's Chicken Shack. Oh, wow. So, and we did as a crew, but the town is so small and was so segregated that people were literally afraid of us coming in there. That's my experience of Body Snatchers, was that town. That's the most significant part of that experience, was that town. And to have people. The crew is from New York and Los Angeles and some local people too, and the crew is not segregated. The crew is modern and doesn't give a fuck. And so you're in the car driving with somebody who's happens to be of a different race, and you're getting followed by people, to set. So that was 1992, I think, and that level of racism was eye-opening to me. I can't hear you. No, I've lost you.
Brandon, I think you're having technical difficulties, buddy. I think you may need to drop out all the way and come back in. Poor Christine is going to have to put up with me for a little bit.
That's okay. You put up with me. You put up with me for like 15 minutes and I couldn't get my shit together. And I showed up 10 minutes early as you asked me to, and I still couldn't get it together.
So, do you recall being on the very first ever online convention?
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, I do. It was during COVID.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on that?
I do. I think, it's so funny. It was fun to do. And I think everything's been reinvented from COVID. Tonight I was watching MSNBC and somebody was sitting in for Chris Hayes or something. And the guest was talking and everyone's doing these interviews rather than being in studio. They're doing it like this via Zoom. And I saved it. I think I'm going to put, if I haven't, I already posted it, I think on Instagram. There's two women talking. And then the woman who's the guest, her dog's off camera has a squeaky toy, and it's like totally drowning out what she's saying. And she's like, "Oh, that's my dog. It's a squeaky toy." And she keeps trying to talk over it, and just for like 5 minutes, and never just takes the toy away from the dog. So there's something really. And Rachel Maddow last night, I was watching her too, and I'm a big Rachel Maddow fan, but she, she's not inclined to get dressed up. She's not a gussied up kind of like, false eyelashes, lipstick kind of a gal. But on pre-COVID, that's how MSNBC portrayed her. But everyone's like, let it go. Like now she's doing her show, like maybe from her basement, I don't know. But she's like, it doesn't have the false eyelashes on. Like it's all just like bare bones. And everyone's like, I don't give a fuck if the dog's chewing a chew toy in the corner, and like the kid runs by naked in the background. And there's something really democratic about how equal the playing field has become as far as broadcasting. Like you and I are not doing anything more highbrow than MSNBC is doing right now.
I think we got Brandon back. Bear with me one moment. But it was an absolute honor having you on the very first convention. It was
You've been there.
Absolute joy. Sorry, Brandon.
Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry about the tech defects.
I think it's me. The tech gods are having it out for me right now. So
it's all right. So my next question. Thank you for that last one. I did hear it. I just couldn't. I froze at the end. During your rise in the 90s, did you ever that was a time when the Weinstein Company was on top? Did you ever deal with any sleazy producers or get offered anything that you turned down in your acting career and during that time frame?
No, for a couple of reasons. One, I've never been at a level where I would even be in a room with that kind of a person. I've never had opportunities that high and that I would even be in that room. But you've known me for a little bit of time, and I was remarking to Alex Vincent today that I go to conventions all the time, and I'm really happy to have this giant posse of friends there, male and female. But the community there is overwhelmingly male. And nobody ever hits on me, which is by design, but still it's an interesting thing that I could walk around and everyone's hammered, and you're out of town for 5 days at a time. And I don't want anyone hitting me, but it's still a miracle that no one does. And I think that I just don't give off that energy. I think I really, I don't give off that energy, but it's all part of that punk rock sort of attitude. Like, don't fuck with me. Like I was afraid on the trains, but I looked scary and no one bothered me. And I think I carry this sort of attitude that intimidates people. And if they only knew what a puss I actually am. But
yeah, there's that famous story out there of Jason Priestley and Harvey. So again, during that time frame that may or may not have. What's that?
I was there that night.
Oh, okay. So that's awesome. That I give him huge props for. Go ahead.
First of all, I was living with Jason at the time, so I was there with him. Like literally, we were there as a couple. Okay. At that event. The funny thing about that is, back in the day, the goodie bags you get and the gifts that nominees get is a thing of legend now. Like you get $100,000 for the shit. To the point that the IRS wants to collect people's taxes on the value of the gift they're being given. Back then, you got a little goodie bag, like this big, filled with trial size things like John Sebastian hair products, like a total net worth of $7, and some, flyers for things that you could pay for on your own if you felt like it. I was holding the two of mine and his, and the two programs because he was nominated. Jason was nominated as Best Actor on 90210 that year.
Okay.
So I was holding the programs for his nostalgia, and then we go into the after party we went to the Miramax after party, and I was wandering around just drunk and told Jessica Lange that I worshipped her like a fucking and like it was embarrassing. I was just strutting all around, feeling confident about myself, and I have a really great Brad Pitt story to tell about that night too. It was a really crazy night, but and Johnny Depp saw me that night and hugged me hello, which made me feel. And in fact, I'll tell you the Brad Pitt story. It's kind of good. So I knew Johnny just from the one episode, but Jason and Johnny Depp were very close for a long time because Jason is from Vancouver and Jason dated Holly Robinson Pete. So he knew Johnny Depp well. But I was there with Jason as a date, and so you always feel like it's a sidekick. And I see Johnny Depp, and he hugs me hello. I'm like, oh my God, Johnny Depp remembers me. It's crazy. And then Jason goes, because he used to live with Brad Pitt, he goes, if you see Brad during the course of the night, Johnny Depp was nominated for Ed Wood. And Brad Pitt was nominated for Legends of the Fall. So Jason goes, if you see Brad in your travels, bring him back to our table and bring him over to say hi to me. I'm like, okay, I don't do that. I had never met Brad Pitt, and so I'm walking around doing my thing with my goodie bags, and I see Brad Pitt, and he's cut all that Legends of the Fall hair off. Now he's got really short hair, and it was like, oh my God, Brad cut his hair off. And I'm just half in the bag because the Golden Globes are the drunk party, and there's a whole phalanx of photographers and paparazzi around him inside the Golden Globes, going, Brad, why'd you cut your hair, Brad? Who do you want to win? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm in the back going, Brad. And I'm yelling like 3 times. And I'm like, what the fuck are you going to say if you get his attention? What the fuck are you going to say to him? I'm like, I'm not going to go, hey, Brad, you don't know me, but I'm Jason Priestley's girlfriend, and I'm supposed to bring you to my table right now. I'm like, while I'm doing this Brad thing, I'm like, you need to fucking rein it in and skulk off because you don't want, you're biting off more than you can chew. And right as I have this revelation, he sees me and parts the sea like Moses and comes to me and hugs me and swings me around. And I'm saying into his ear, you have no idea who I am. He's like, how are you? Come here, honey. And hugging, throwing me all around. I'm like, oh my God, he thinks I'm somebody else. Oh my God, he thinks I'm somebody else. And now there's like 75 paparazzi witnessing this. And now I'm going to have to embarrass Brad Pitt when he finally lets go of me, and he goes, hey, Beth, how have you been? I'm like, I'm not really Beth, I'm really Christine, and I'm Jason Priestley's girlfriend. And I'm like, this is going to be the worst moment of my entire fucking life. And he finally lets go, and he goes, how are you? I go, I'm good. He goes, how's your guy? And he meant Jason, and he fucking didn't know who it was.
Oh, wow.
And that's why Johnny Depp knew who I was, and Brad Pitt knew who I was, and Jason Priestley knew who I was. I was feeling pretty good that night.
Everybody knows who you are, Christine.
No, they
don't. Yes, they do.
That night.
So speaking of Jason, in 91, your journey as television bad girl Emily Valentine began. Did you have to go through that? Did you have to meet Aaron Spelling and go through a casting process, or was it a traditional casting process with the 90210 casting directors?
I think there were 3. Actually, I have a story about this one too. I just posted the Aaron Spelling portion of it on Instagram yesterday, but because I found a picture of the office that the final audition happened in. Mm-hmm. The funnier story is I had a boyfriend at the time named Jamie that I was living with for like 5 years, and when 90210 first started airing, people would call and go, oh my God, Jamie, you turn the TV on, this guy's on TV, and I was like, he looks just like you. And it was Jason that they were talking about. And at the time, I was living in Highland Park, which is a neighborhood here in Hollywood, Los Angeles, just north of downtown, and in a Hispanic neighborhood. And the supermarket had this super, super hot Chola chick. She was fucking gorgeous, that Jamie and I used to pretend we both had a crush on. And be like, whoever had to go run an errand and like bring back the cilantro would say that we'd had an experience with that girl, whatever her name was, and like she gave me her phone number, and we had this pretend like competition over this girl. Totally fake. So when the Jason thing started happening, I decided that I would pretend that I was in love with Jason instead of the Chola chick at the supermarket. And then during that period, when I was pretending I had a crush on Jason just to make my boyfriend mad, I got a meeting at Fox with a man named Bob Harbin, who's the head of casting at 20th Century Fox. And he brings me in, and again, I said earlier, like some people think they're movie stars and not TV stars, and I said I included myself in that category. I did intend, because it used to be you had to do TV or film. You couldn't do both. And no one even understands what that means now. But back then it was one or the other. And I was in TV, but I really didn't want to be. I wanted to be in film. And so Bob Harbin brings me in. He goes, "Hey, Christine, nice to meet you." So anyway, what do you think of TV? And I launch into like some 10-minute diatribe about how TV is fucking soulless. And if I'm stuck in TV, just kill me now. I want to get into plastics. I don't want to be stuck in this fucking bullshit TV world. He's like, "Oh, well, okay, I guess I'll think of you for something else in the future then." I go, "Well, wait, what are you thinking of now?" What an asshole, by the way. What the fuck? I'm 26 years old and talking like this to the head of casting at Fox, like I'm King Jingle Farts. I don't know what the balls I had were brass.
Oh,
and
wow.
he goes, "Well, I was thinking about this show called 90210. I go, "I have to do 90210. I totally have to fuck Jason Priestley." Because I was joking, and because I joke that way, because I have a forward sense of humor, and he let me go forward in the audition process, which I cannot believe. He should have had me committed or walked off the lot by security. And then as things turned out, I did fuck Jason Priestley, which Bob Harbin must be, because I lived with Jason for 5 years. It's no secret. We did have sex once or twice in the 5 years. Bob Harbin must think I'm totally insane. I'm like Glenn Close from that Michael Douglas movie.
Fatal Attraction.
I won't be ignored. Yeah, that's me. So yeah, I'm giving you the gold, honey. I don't tell these stories to just anyone.
This is amazing video podcasting. I'm gonna so jumping in as Emily, which was this very complex character. I mean, tell me about having to sing on set of this, because you are not a singer, correct?
No, I'm not. No, the terrifying thing was singing on the auditions, and I had to sing Mercedes-Benz a cappella. And then I had to sing it, and they brought me into the studio to record it. I recorded it in the studio to sing it to playback. I did sing the a cappella Mercedes-Benz, and they did use that in the show, but they can't afford the rights to it, so it's not on the DVDs or anything. So you have to find some old VHS cassette of it or to see me actually, which I'm really grateful for, that thing's been cut out. But the whole Breaking Up Is Hard to Do thing is a harder song than you think. It's kind of like Happy Birthday, one of those songs that seems simple, but it's really tricky. Yeah. With a national anthem, they're really hard songs to sing. Oh, yeah. And I couldn't sing it, so they hired a session singer to do it, and she sang my part and the parts of the three girls, Shannon and Jenny and Tori in the background. It was the same voice for all of us. And they mixed my voice in here and there. They looped my voice a little bit in through with the session chick's voice. And anytime the voice sounds anywhere sour or bad, that's when my voice is being added to it. But in the Mercedes-Benz, in the quad, I go to the lines with the girls, and literally the new girl in school, like in the story, literally the new girl in school, and you feel like the new girls, and they're on the cover of like Rolling Stone and shit. Like this is like I'm walking into incredible fame, and Tori and Shannon Doherty and Jenny Garth are sitting in the grass with me, and I have to pretend to play guitar, which I don't, and then sing like, "Oh, it reminds me of a song. Oh Lord," and start fucking pretending I'm playing guitar and singing and there's a quad with like this crew of 75 and a quad with like 100 extras, and my voice being played over loudspeaker, like fucking volume 11, and I have to listen to it. And I'd be like, "Oh," and they go, "Cut," and I would cry. They go, "Cut." Action. "Won't you buy me?" Cut. I literally cried in between takes because Jason, Luke, and Brian and Ian were not in the scene, but they were on set that day. So I had the entire cast sitting around looking at me like it was the most humiliating day of my life.
But it came out great though, and it's something that people always watch. So hey, it's an iconic scene that people talk about to this day. CJ Robles says, "Where did your inner Emily Valentine come from? Because she was badass."
Emily Valentine's inner badass and Kyle's inner badass and any other character that I played with inner badass is my inner badass. Most of the time I'm wearing my own wardrobe for a lot of reasons, mostly because the stuff that I had fit better than the stuff they would just buy a girl they don't know and just buying random shit. And most costumers don't know what genuinely offbeat kids look like. And then buy, like, the cliche, like Chuck Todd's and, jeans and some Ramones t-shirt, like really like very the uniform of the edgy girl or edgy kid. And I had much more interesting choices for that because I'd been the offbeat kid and the outsider kid since I was 14. So Kyle's wardrobe, even in season 1 of Chucky was mine. It was my own wardrobe. And that black leather hat was mine before I was even an actor. I wore that hat in all my auditions. I got Jump Street in that hat. I wear it in Jump Street. I wore it in Chucky. I wore it in 90210. I wore it in the reboot of 90210. I wore it in season 1 of Chucky. That hat is the most significant souvenir of my career that I have, and I brought it to my career. I didn't get it from my career.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, so this might be a little bit of a downer, but not meant to be. But growing up, I thought one of the coolest characters created in television history was the Dylan McKay character that was played by the late Luke Perry. Can you tell us, like, how cool was Luke Perry as opposed to his character on screen?
I think much like my characters that were whatever badass they had was for me. Often the words undid the badass because of writing up, in different shows not being what it could be. Luke Perry is nicer than Dylan McKay is sensitive and intelligent and kind because Luke was. I'm sure that everybody else that auditioned for that character came in as Joey from Friends, like coming in and like, oh, yo, how you doing? Like doing that sort of like Stallone or trying to do some like leather jacket badass thing. And Luke came in as like some Nietzsche reading, softy. And that's who Luke was. Luke was the nicest person on my first days on set. And I'm just saying this now because he's gone. You can look in the early 90s, like teen mags, and like what did Christina Elise say about Luke Perry? And the story I always tell, and I always told it since the first day, is that he was the person that made sure I knew where the craft service was. And he would sit with me and have lunch with me. And that might not sound like a lot, but they were regulars on a huge show. And I was a guest star initially only there for 1 episode. And for one of the most famous people in America and the hottest dude in America to take his time out and sit with the fucking stupid guest star at lunch is unheard of. It just doesn't happen. So you won't find a single person that actually met Luke has a single bad word to say about him. He's as close to a perfect person as can be. And that's how it goes, right? It's always how it goes. It's the wrong ones that get taken early.
Absolutely. Rest in power, Luke. All right. So this is a game we play every episode. It's called One Sentence or Silence, Christine. This is where I name a person that you've worked with, and you give me one sentence, or if you stay silent, then it means that they suck.
Oh, fuck. That's not fair. Because I might need a minute to like think of it, and then I don't want to say they sucks, but fuck. Okay, I'm game. But
You're
fuck.
game. You're game.
I'm game, but silence doesn't mean they sucked.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Let's start off with Jack.
Hold on. So few have sucked, and I didn't even give any inclination who they were yet. So I don't think you're gonna get the ones that did suck. So I'm confident.
Probably not, but because you're nicer than you put on. All right. First off, Jack Wagner. Did I get you?
Is that silence?
Is that silence?
Jack Wagner gave me a really good tip one time, and it paid off.
Okay, Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty elevated my performance in that show exponentially. Shannon Doherty is a really talented actress. She's a very present and focused one. And there's 2 times in the first episode of 90210 I ever did that my character was almost like was tearful, which was not what I ever anticipated for my character to do in those moments, because Shannon is so intimidating, and that was right for the character for me at the time. And she elevated me. I'm a huge fan of Shannon Doherty.
Abel Ferreira.
Crazy as a shithouse rat in the best possible way. Really talented, but it takes crazy to like take chances, and he does. And I'm really proud of Body Snatchers, and I'm a big fan.
An underrated actor, in my opinion, Curtis Armstrong.
Curtis Armstrong is like family to me. His IMDb picture is I Took It. He got me into the convention circuit. I love Curtis. Curtis is one of the classiest men. I had dinner at my house just last month. He is just an old school Cary Grant level gentleman.
Awesome. Another absolute legend, the late Carol O'Connor.
Carol O'Connor was a fucking rock star to me, because I grew up watching All in the Family, and to be on a set with a person like that was fucking surreal. And I got that job, and I didn't have a Southern accent, and my accent in that show was embarrassing, but I played his daughter, and I had short blonde hair, dark roots, which is sort of what I did a lot at the time. And he came on the trailer and said, "Why do you wear your hair like that?" And I said, "Because Billy, it looks like shit if I don't." And the whole trailer went silent, because you don't swear in front of Carol. You don't call him Carol, you call him Mr. O'Connor. And I was like, "Carol," and I did the same thing with Aaron Spelling, actually. I treated them both like peers. Like, "Oh, Aaron, what do you fucking think about that?" And they both understood that my churlish choice of words was not disrespectful or from a lack of better vocabulary, but just me being me. And both Aaron and Carol were unbelievably kind to me and gave me tons of fucking work and way overpaid me. They were lovely people.
Awesome. Tyne Daly.
Tyne Daly did not, through no fault of her own, I did a really long scene with her. I had to be crying the whole time. And I was a really poor woman. I'm not one sentence. You want a one sentence? Excuse me.
No. Give us a story.
I'm playing a fucking Waffle House waitress with kids, and she feels like she has to give them up. And the apartment that the set people made was like some palatial estate, and it should have been like, one room with a hot plate. And this giant crying scene had to be shot over all. We have the space, might as well use it. And I had to do this crying scene for like 17 hours that day. It was grueling. And they shot her side first, and the producers didn't know why I wasn't crying off camera, because you don't cry off camera when you don't have to, because you save that for when you're on camera. But they made me do it off camera, and then I didn't have it anymore when I was on camera. And so I gave one of the best performances of my entire life off camera, opposite Tyne Daly.
Wow. All right. Grant Show.
I was supposed to be the spin-off character for Melrose Place. Aaron Spelling and his partner Duke Vincent at the time, and what's his name, Darren Starr, had me to meetings to talk about spinning Emily Valentine off, and then here's the other characters we have to build around Emily in this apartment building, and what do you say? I say yes, and and it went into it was happening, and then they offered me money that was very bad, and I thought, well, what the fuck are they gonna do? Like, it's season 2 of 90210, it was like 3 episodes left. There's nobody else they can spin off. They're gonna have to come up on their money with me. And I was living with Jason at the time, or going out with him at the time, and I was afraid of my career being totally entwined with his. Everyone thought that I got 90210 because I knew him, which I didn't know him until I got the job. So Melrose Place seemed like a weird, quicksand that I was getting into, and they didn't offer me any more money. And they did create a new character, and they created Grant Show's character, Jake. And I went on to several years later, or a couple years later, doing a movie of the week with him called Mother Knows Best, during which we became best friends, 96, 97. And he was my best friend for about 5 years. I love Grant Show.
Awesome. Viggo Mortensen.
I would have a fucking rock hard boner for since The Indian Runner, which is Sean Penn's directorial debut, I believe. Viggo is the guy that plays Hannibal in the TV version of Hannibal, one of those sort of Swedish or Norwegian actors that is just, I'm fucking still have a giant boner for Vigo. So I got this job on a movie called Boiling Point, and the producer of it, his name, it's going to escape me right now, but he was the producer for Stanley Kubrick, and he produced one of my favorite movies of all time called The Killing. And he was producing this movie, and I was like, I can't. It was one of the first movies of mine. I'm like, oh my god, like all of my childhood teenage dreams of like who I'm going to work with is happening. And I was cast first in this movie, and I was reading opposite other actors, and I didn't read against Vigo, but they cast Vigo in a movie called Boiling Point with Wesley Snipes and Dennis Hopper. My part got mostly cut out before I even shot it because it was at the end of the schedule and they're going over, and as they go over, they go, what can we cut? And they cut me. And Vigo was freaked out about that because I sort of balanced his bad guy character with some good guy stuff. And so he requested that I be his wife in another movie called Vanishing Point, a remake of a 70s Mopar car, hot rod car movie. And so I got a second job because Viggo Mortensen asked for me.
That is awesome. All right. Another Hollywood, what became a Hollywood legend, George Clooney.
George Clooney is he is like Luke Perry nice. He's the kind of guy that comes in the makeup trailer and introduces himself to every single guest star. One day, one line, whatever, walks up, hi, I'm George Clooney, kisses you in the face, and treats you like you're part of the family. Super generous, lovely human, and a prankster on set, sort of practical joker guy.
Don Mancini.
Everyone knows Don's an asshole. No kidding. Of course, Don's like my brother. I met Don when I was 24 and he was 26, and on Child's Play 2, and he was just like this starry-eyed, like so excited guy to be on set, and had a Super 8 camera, was shooting he's got 40 hours of like behind the scenes footage that has yet to meet the light of day. But we stayed friends since then. I was friends with him all the intervening years until I came back into the franchise. Don was sort of peripherally in my life. We share some other people in common socially. The great miracle of Don is that he can have spent nearly 40 years telling a story about one character and still find ways to make it fresh and reinvent it. Don is a fucking genius. Don, I knew that Chucky show would be good, but I had no idea he could make it as incredibly awesomely good as he did. And I haven't read anything from season 2 yet, but I heard from Tony Gardner, who's the head puppeteer, that season 2 is going to eclipse season 1.
Oh, wow. That is saying something right there. My final is an actor that I always enjoyed back in the day. I haven't seen him in recent memory, but Billy Warlock.
Billy Warlock, I worked with on Baywatch. He was my Baywatch co-star. He was my love interest on Baywatch. His dad, Dick Warlock, was the stunt supervisor on Child's Play 2.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and Dick Warlock, you should look him up. He's got a bigger resume than what I just said about Child's Play 2.
Yeah, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
He's joined the cult. He's part of the cult.
Yes. Wow. You learn something every day. I know of Dick Warlock. I just didn't make the connection. I didn't make the connection between him and Billy. So I'm glad to know that now. And then I have one from Ken McKernan, Howard Hessman.
Howard Hessman is what super intimate he's gone, isn't he?
Yes. Rest in power. Yes.
Super intimidating, like a kind of a doesn't suffer fools kind of a person. I tend to do well with that kind of person. People that make other people afraid seem to like Carol O'Connor, and other people, casting directors, my agent back in the day would say, this chick's a fucking see you next Tuesday. So if she's mean to you, don't take it personally. She's just a fucking douche. And those casting directors would always love me. So Howard Hessman was very kind to me. I do, the meaner a person is, the better I tend to do with them.
Wow. Okay. And one I just got texted me actually that I'm going to ask that you know very well, Jason Priestley. Yeah.
Again, I lived with him for 5 years, so obviously I was a fan. I remain a fan on every level. But his wife is one of my best friends, and his children are they're my niece and nephew. until they recently moved to Nashville for the last 10, or actually, they got married in 2005. So do the math, 17 years. That they're on my holiday table. I go to their house for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and like his wife's name Naomi Loud Priestley. Her cousin and her, I'm as close to her family. Her aunt, her grandmother, Naomi Priestley's grandmother is Sylvia Twigg. And Naomi's British, and Sylvia Twigg is British too. And I'm like, fuck that cunt, da, da, da. And Sylvia Twigg likes my posts on Instagram and Facebook. There's nothing that you cannot scandalize Sylvia Twigg. The Priestley family, Jason Priestley is the gift that keeps on giving for me. He has, it's full. He's as family to me as Alex Vincent is. It's awesome. As close as it gets. I'm gonna sneeze.
So you, bless you. So you made it through without silence, except maybe that Jack Wagner, which is a story for me.
It just took me a minute to remember who he was. And once I remember who he was, then I found the story.
All right, so I want you to talk a little bit about some of our audience might not be aware that you're a novelist, that you have a very popular novel called Bathing in the Single Girl. Bathing in the Single Girl. It's been a great show. That's been crazy. You wrote, produced, and you also directed and starred in a short based off of it. Can you tell us a little bit about it, please, and where it originated from?
Well, there's a theater at the bottom of my hill called the Upright Citizens Brigade here in Hollywood, and I used to attend a regular event there that was called 3 Stories in a Cover, and it was 3 people reading like a 2,000-word true life comic essay about themselves, and then somebody doing a funny cover of a song. And it was really great. I could walk to the theater; it was very close. And I went over and over. And my writer friend at one point said, "We should both submit a piece. I'll submit if you submit." I submitted. She did not. They said yes. I read it, and I read it in front of an audience. And my friend said, "That was so funny. You should have recorded that because your agents don't think you're funny, and you're funny." And so I did it again at a different theater in town, and I recorded it, and then I posted it on Facebook, and a DP friend said, "That's really funny, but that fucking footage looks like ass. We should make a short film out of it." And I was like, okay. And like 2 weeks later, we were shooting it here at my house, and so I was shot right in front of this kitchen, and so he got bored after the first 2 days, and he's like, "Here's the footage. I don't like where you're going with it." Meanwhile, it's my words. So, and he gave me the stuff back. All the footage is beauty. He's a A-list beauty photographer. He does like Breck hair commercials and stuff like that. And I think if you watch the short of the same name, which can be seen if you go to bathingbook.com, there's the film tab, and you can go to watch the film. I think if you have a good eye, you can see which scenes he shot because they're spectacularly beautiful. But he just lost interest, and so I took it over, and I had somebody else come in and shoot it, and I directed the rest of it. And yeah, and so I did that, the short. I did 100 film festivals with that short. At the time, I was programming festivals I programmed them for like 16, 20 years. And so I was very deeply entrenched in the festival market circuit. So I did 100 festivals with that short. And then toward the end of that, someone said, "It's really funny. If you can write more material like this, you should really write a novel." And so I did.
And if you get a chance to check it out, you can find it, I believe, on YouTube and Christine's website, Bathing in the Single Girl. It's fantastic. I saw it for the first time this past week at NJ HorrorCon, and I definitely will be reading the novel as well. Also, your one thing that almost stopped our friendship before it started that I brought up was your vegan channel. Well, because again, I've followed this for the last couple of years, and I've even attempted to make quite a bit of the amazing recipes that you create on it. Can you tell us a little bit about where that started and all of the great food that you create on camera for that?
How did that almost end our friendship before it began?
Because remember, I came up and I asked you about the making a cookbook. That was a joke, but remember, and then it's a joke, but yeah, and then you told me all the ways of which it's too expensive to make a cookbook, which again,
I apologize.
No, it wasn't. That was more of a joke that we laughed about last weekend. But it was funny at the time because again, I really was serious because the stuff that I just tried to make some of the vegan salmon earlier and it came out pretty good actually. But
that's gross though. I didn't even give it a good review on my own thing of it.
I still tried it though because I love salmon so much though. So and I think it actually came out pretty good though. So but tell us where that all began as far as the channel and all of that, please.
I gave up meat in the 80s when I was living with Jamie, the person I dated before Jason, in Highland Park or Mount Washington. We rented a house that had a weird chicken coop in the backyard. And he was like, we should get some chickens and like just eat their eggs. And I was like, that sounds like a good idea. So we went and bought some four teenage chickens and did a little run for them. And one night I was having a dinner party. I was like, oh shit, it's dark. I should go put the chickens back inside. And they were like still teenagers. We had them for like 3 weeks. And they were gone because coyotes had killed them. And I came back in crying and said, no chicken will ever again die because of me. And I gave up meat that day. I had one or two for a long time, but that was the final straw. And I haven't had chicken since that night in 1987, 6, whatever it was. I was pescatarian though for like 30 years, so which means fish and cheese and eggs. And then Fukushima happened, and oceans are so overfished, and I was like, I've had, and now vegan options have gotten so prevalent, especially here in the city like Los Angeles. There's no shortage of vegan options, and I've gotten more sophisticated in my cooking. So I started a blog like 7 years ago called Delightful, Delicious to Lovely, and it was a pescatarian sort of blog. I did that for a long time, 4 years or something, and it felt stagnant. And one day on July 5th, I'm going to do a channel. And literally on July 5th, I woke up and said I'm going to do it. And I did. I shot it on July 5th with my iPhone and not edited, one direction, shot across the kitchen. I was sitting over there looking at the stove this way. Still up. Episode's still up. Second episode's because I don't have any pants on. And I had become vegan at that point because I thought it's just time for me to progress. And I did that for a couple of years, and I stopped about February of last year. You'd think during COVID, when I had nothing to do except that, I would have done it like ravenously, been doing it like rabid 10 episodes a day. It was the opposite. It's one of those things where the more you have to do, the more you get done. The less you have to do, the less you do. If all you have to do is go to the bank that day, somehow you can't even manage to go to the bank. It's like, how can I find the time to go to the bank? Then you have a day where you have to like go to the airport, go to the bank, go to the gym, go to the hospital. All of that gets done, and you go home, you're right. So the more you have to do, the more you get done. And COVID was bad for me as far as being productive.
Gotcha.
Really good for me in other ways. So the introvert in me was just fucking rubbing one out every day.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, I never have to leave the house. And there's no invitation to find a way out of. And like, it's fucking unbelievably great. Puzzles. I was doing a puzzle a day. Like 1,000 puzzles a day. I have my 2 dogs here. I really like lockdown. It's the best.
Wow. A friend to the show, Libby McDermott asks, what's your favorite vegan meal?
If you go on as a child, my favorite food was Chinese spare ribs with a thick, sweet barbecue sauce thingy on it. And I do a really great vegan version of that. That's sort of my go-to vegan thing. I eat that probably most of any other recipe on my blog.
That sounds good. It's a good answer to try. It's a good answer. I have to try that. All right. So one thing I learned in my research this week that I wasn't aware of, that you were a story producer on the Elevator reality show that was hosted by the Soska sisters, who I'm a huge admirer of. How did that come about?
It's difficult to make a living as an actor, and it's a hustle, right? So a friend of mine was a writer, and she was an executive producer in reality TV. Not that other shows, not that show, but other shows like, Top Chef and that kind of thing. And she said, hey, one time she was also at the festival that I used to program for 16 years, and she was like, I'm like, what do you do? What is it you do? And what do they pay you to do it? She told me. I'm like, well, how do I get involved in that? And she's like, oh, if you're really serious, you know, but it requires a skillful knowledge of Avid, which I did not possess at the time. And storytelling. Reality TV is really storytelling. And they call it story producing because they don't want to call it writing because they don't want to have it covered by the union.
Yeah.
And I am a member of the Writers Union because I wrote a number of 90210 episodes. So I'm actually in the Writers Guild. But so she said, hey, you know, I'm going to hire you because I know you and I know you're smart and I know you're a writer and I know you can learn Avid in fucking a week. So fuck it. Just come on in. And I did it on a show called Best Bars in America. Was my first job in that world, and which is a great show, by the way, for Esquire Network. And I kept doing it. It was for a big company in town called Magical Elves, and I just got it's one of those things like
it's a domino effect.
Yeah, like you're in a company and they just roll you over job to job. So I did Elevator for the Saska Twins, and they're among the kindest, most positive women I've ever met in my entire fucking life.
Absolutely.
We sat together. They live in Vancouver, and they came to Los Angeles and sat. They came to visit the Post department, which is like 8 of us, like 5, editors, me and one other story producer. And they sat and talked and tell stories with us for 8 hours one day, which is not how people do it. They're really gorgeous, lovely human beings.
I concur. So swinging back to Chucky, how like there was many different direct-to-video films in that series that came out over the last 20 years or so. There was a theatrical version. You've spoken strongly about some of what was made that was outside of the realm of the original people. So how did this Chucky series come back to fruition and bring Kyle and Andy and Tiffany and these characters back in such a great show that we have now that's going into its second season?
Well, I think that was teed up when Dawn brought Alex back to for Curse at the end of Curse, and then he was in Curse more, and then at the end of Cult. Jennifer has always been sort of ghostly in the mix, and I think when you have Dawn's been telling a story like seven movies in like 30 something years, divide that by an hour and a half, like how many how much story you get every 5 years, and he had the opportunity to tell 8 hours of story in 8 weeks. And so you've got a lot of room to introduce new people, do backstory, bring back old people, and really set an incredibly deep story that's been started in 1988 with Alex. So, and that's Dawn's sort of fetish. Dawn's been like really fighting the fight to get me and Alex back. I'm not sure that everybody involved totally gets that the fans really are invested in the old story. And I'm certain that they are for lots of reasons, but I'm really proud of everybody for totally embracing the new story. The new kids are incredible. All the new people were so patient and fell in love with all those kids and waited very calmly for Jennifer and Fiona to show up and let the dominoes, fall as they may. But it was brilliant on Dawn's part to bring in a bunch of kids who are brilliant, and then bring in and they draw in young kids. So now he just gave birth to another generation of Chucky fans. They're all 13, So but again, to the old school Chucky fans, like brava, golf claps to you for sticking with it or just totally embracing it, because all of the 7 movies have their lovers and their haters, but there's so few haters for the series. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Alex Vincent's thing is like there's less agreement on the qualities of pizza than there are on the qualities of the show. Like the internet is this hotbed of people being dickbags, and they're just not with this show. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's brilliantly crafted from, like you said, from the cast to the storyline, from the just oh shit moments, those not expecting like someone to get off to things. I mean, and you don't get that today in a lot of cinema either. You know, you almost instantly I watch and 10 minutes in, I know who's gonna live or die. And that's a show that took me for a ride and I had no clue what was going to happen with various characters within, and I'm looking forward to season 2. So
That's
yeah,
great.
Rob.
And it's a show where somebody dying doesn't mean you've seen the last of that actor either. So, you know.
Very true, very true. So Christine, I always end the show. By asking for some gems or nuggets that you give. A lot of our audience are filmmakers, actors, people that are in the business, whether starting or halfway into their career or whatever. Just can you just share some words of wisdom or whether pitfalls or ups and downs of it from your experience, please?
Okay, I would say up front, and this is to most young people, if you just want to do it because you want to be famous or you want to be rich, don't do it because you're not going to get either of those things. It's almost impossible to get either of those things. I don't have either of those things. I've been doing it my whole life. I'm not rich and I'm not famous. Famous means everyone knows who you are. Like, you know, Billie Eilish is famous. George Clooney is famous. I'm not famous. And I have to do jobs like behind the scenes and work and like hustle and do story producing to make a living. So I'm not rich. So you may look at me and think, oh, but no. So if you're not doing it for love, don't do it at all because it's almost impossible to succeed even at a making a living level, let alone like famous level. That said, I would say learn whatever department you see yourself in, whether it's acting or writing or directing, learn the jobs the other departments do. If you're an actor, write some shit. If you're, a writer, try to act. If you're a director, take an acting class. Like respect the other departments because it's collaborative in the most intimate way. And it's really important to respect that everyone else's job is just as hard as yours. And stay away from the fucking craft service table because you just get fat.
That's great advice all the way around. Hey, Gabe, he's one of our India Escape podcasters. CJ Robles says, thanks for sharing so much experience for use to learn from. Jean says, Christine, you're an amazing actress. I concur with that. Mr. Ridgely, are you present?
I am. I have a question.
Yes.
Is Chucky going to have Wi-Fi in season 2?
What? Is that other movie?
Bad joke.
I didn't see that other movie.
I remember interviewing you a few years ago, and you said that was a complete dick move.
I did.
I know.
Google it. Google it. It was. I stand by it.
It's true.
I have the clip.
In fairness to me, the reason I was offended as I was, is twofold. One, it's Don Mancini's baby. Don't fuck with it. Don't do a job. Don't steal Don's. Literally steal Don's baby, and put him in another movie. That's just not right. But more selfishly, I was afraid because it was happening when this show was in development. I was afraid it would derail the television show. And for selfish reasons, that was why I was like so vocal. I had skin in the game. And so I had skin in the game. And that's why I was so vocal.
Understood.
So it's about that time.
Yes.
Christine, where can everybody find you on social media? And if they want to check your upcoming projects, please.
The easiest thing is bathingbook.com. There's a contact page with all my links to my social media stuff. You can buy the books on Amazon. The film link is there on bathingbook.com. Otherwise, I'm kind of Instagram centric. My Instagram feed tends to auto-populate both Facebook and Twitter. So it appears like I'm in all these places, but I really only live in Instagram. So
great.
There you go. Well, again, thank you, Christine, for sharing all your stories and your experience tonight. I appreciate you sticking with us through the tech difficulties early on, and
I appreciate you sticking with me. It was my fault. I don't know what the fuck.
It's all good. It's all good. Our audience, I'm sure, enjoyed all the stories as Joe and I have, and we look forward to season 2 of Chucky. And I look forward to possibly working with you in the future. You are absolutely an outlaw in this business, and all the things you do, even things we haven't even discussed,
An
like
outlaw.
your
I'm an outlaw.
yeah, absolutely. Just your badass like persona. Even things like photography that I love to talk to you on air about at one point that I know you do. And there's so many things that the hustle is what this show is about. Like India Outlaws United is about people in this industry who are hustlers, people who are not celebrities or not doing this because they're famous or whatever.
I'm a fucking hustler.
Exactly. And all the people that have been on here, from Courtney Gaines to all the different guests, are hustlers that have fought for every job that they've gotten, and they're not Hollywood royalty like George Clooney and Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp, but they're performers that we've loved to watch for decades, and we love what you're doing on Chucky, and I've loved everything that I've seen you do going back to head of the class in 21 Jump Street. So it was an honor to meet you and discuss everything with you. Oh, what's up?
Chucky, Alex and I have a fucking podcast too called Chucky Talks.
Yes.com.
It's when we talk about Chucky. So
Yes. Her and Alex
Chucky
Vincent,
Talks.
who was another rad dude that I've got to meet on the convention circuit as well. Please say that again. Your podcast name?
Chucky Talks. ChuckyTalks.com.
All right, everybody. ChuckyTalks.com. Please check out Alex and Christina on that. They're dropping a lot of cool information about themselves and past projects, and I'm sure soon.
No. We are interviewing cast members, including Brad Dourif this week.
Yes.
Every other episode we interview cast people, and the next episode breakdown, cast interview, episode breakdown. So Chucky season 1 specific.
Okay, Chucky season 1 specific. Okay, and then I'm sure down the road you'll speak possibly about upcoming what might be upcoming. That'll be awesome. And you interviewed Brad Dourif, correct?
Yeah, it just dropped on Tuesday, so it's already out.
Awesome.
Part 1 of our 2-part episode with him is out.
Awesome. So we will go check that out. So thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate you. Much love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Take care. Thank you.
I fucked up.
Hey, no, it's all good. Much love.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
What an amazing woman.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure having her on.
Absolutely. Thank you, IOU audience, for sticking with us a little bit longer of an episode, but we appreciate Christine for being on. And what's new? What's coming up tomorrow, Joe?
Tomorrow
for the network.
Dang it! I almost had that pulled up. Let's hold on a second. Hold on. Wait for it. While I am looking that up, why don't you tell us what's going on next week?
Yes, next week, the show card. One of the most, like, one of the coolest, chillest cats that I've ever met, and I've worked with, Mark Weber, actor, filmmaker, dope films he directed, like Explicit Ills, The Place of No Words. Films he's been in, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Green Room, whole bunch of different stuff, man. Mark and I are going to cut it up next week, have another great chat. Looking forward to that. We also did a film together locally in South Philly last year called Not for Nothing. So Mark Weber next week, IOU. Looking forward to it.
Keep talking.
So I just want to thank the IOU people for coming back. Gabe, CJ, Sean, Libby, everybody that sent in questions. You guys were rad. I know Christine appreciated them. Jean had some good questions. Just want to thank everybody. I was off for a month, and I'm glad some people came back and supported the show. And please keep doing that. Like, subscribe, share. Please go to the YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and please share it with people, because we're trying to get this grassroots thing out there to more people, so more people can appreciate what we're doing. And this is a hustle, like we just said with Christine, of getting this out there to people so people can not just hear these stories and experiences that talent like Christine and Eddie Gaddam and Courtney Gaines and Rob Schmidt and all the other people that have been on the show are talking about, but just so it can be something that we can share. And we're going to have coming forward, we're going to have panels of up and coming independent filmmakers and actors, and we're going to kind of shake it up a little bit. And we just want to continue to give content that the people want. So if you guys continue to come, then we'll continue to put out these shows like the ones that Scott's going to give you tomorrow, like CJ, Gabe, Steve, Daniella, Ray, of course, our buddy Scott and David on Sunday night with End of the Night give us. So we're just trying to give you the best video podcasting we can.
And I suck because I can't find the show.
It's all good. But we had the card for next week with Mark. So everybody, Mark Weber next week. He's an amazing cat, and I think you guys are going to enjoy that. I just want to say thank you again. I'm glad to be back after this hiatus, and my end of the show phrase, as always, believe in the power of yourself and the right others. Good night, everybody. Peace.